Hey, welcome everyone to today's podcast. I'm so excited to have Nicole here with me today. Nicole Healy. She actually signed up with the Center for Healing back in February 2020. And I think the course that she did was Going Deep, and I'm sure she'll talk about that. So she's really a longtime student and friend of the Center for Healing and OG, and she's a lived experience practitioner with qualifications as a trauma-informed root cause therapist and embodied processing practitioner to support people who have a loved one living with addictions. So welcome, Nicole. So good to have you on.
Thank you, Mel. Yes, I think I was one of the original, even for root cause therapy back, like when I obviously did Going Deeper first, then went into root cause therapy, in a desperate bid to save my husband. And I think for me, it was like, I have to save him, I have to fix him. He had a really intense gambling addiction. He had also attempted to end his life. And there was this space where I thought, if I can save him, which is usually the space we end up in with these situations, then
Yeah.
I will be okay. But, and Googling middle of the night, trying to find support, and I come across you guys, which is such a blessing. It's been the biggest blessing that's come out of this whole terrible situation. And I started with the Going Deeper, which was, I think, one of Matt and Ryan's original courses.
Yes.
And yeah, signed up going, oh, this will fix my husband.
Yeah,
And I think,
little did you know you were going on the biggest self-healing
yeah,
journey of your life.
yeah, like halfway through module one and was like, oh no, this is actually about me. Yeah, but then once you start and the shifts start to come in and the awareness around situations rather than being lost in them, you can't stop. Well, that was my experience anyway. It was like, oh, okay, this actually is about me, but it is going to benefit him in ways that I never could have imagined if I had focused all my attention on him. Like if I continued on that path, trying to fix someone else, because we can't do it. And no one needs fixing. We know that.
Well,
But
that's the
that was
thing.
where I was
Yeah.
at. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that a lot if someone's in a relationship, with a partner and they're in your family and their behaviors are deeply impacting you and your life and even your children, of course, naturally we want them to stop that behavior. And what we do is we like kind of project all of that focus on them. How can I fix them so we feel better, so we're better financially and all these things? Like, I think that's quite natural to have that
Yeah.
initial thought and wanting to fix them.
And it really does become that everything that is going wrong, whether it's related to addiction or not, feels like it is.
Yeah.
And you just think, if I wouldn't have anxiety if he didn't have addiction, we would have
Yep.
money if he didn't have addiction, we would all be happy. We'd go back to normal
Yep.
if addiction didn't come in. And you're so desperate to, I feel like, think that this is something that I can make go away and then I can have control back in my life again. But the reality is we've never had control. We were just cruising along thinking that we did. And then something happens and it's nearly like all of these wounds start to appear, but we're
Mm,
not even addressing them because we're focused on fixing our loved one and thinking that that is
yeah.
the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And look, there's no doubt about it. When you have someone who is living with addiction, no matter what the addiction is, it does create chaos. It does cause hardship and heartache, but it doesn't have to the degree that it can if we're
Yep.
focused on fixing.
Yep.
Um, yeah, that's probably my biggest thing that I try to get, people that come to get support with me to understand is we cannot fix them, but what we can do is start to get to know us and understand how we're showing up so we can create connection. And then we
Yes.
start to feel better, even if their situation doesn't change.
Yeah,
We
I love
start to
that.
feel better and start to show up in a way that our whole life doesn't feel like it's got this heavy blanket of addiction just making everything dark and lonely and scary. we can lift the
Yeah.
blanket off.
And I can imagine, like, well, I could only imagine if someone was in that place and say, with your experience, when you're in that dark place, like having the capacity to be present with your children or actually go to work and try and fix a situation, or if you decide that it's not something that you want to fix, like actually having the energy to leave, or and things like that. That's why it's not that there's something wrong with you. It's like that's why it's important that you fill your cup up and heal what you can heal in terms of what's being triggered. Is that kind of what you mean?
Yeah, because I remember having this whole, it was probably about a good 6 months, once we got to a stage where he was starting to work again and starting to feel better. I'm not even sure. He doesn't even know how long it's been since he gambled. It was just nearly like focusing on whatever else was going on and getting through life.
Yeah.
But it almost felt like I had to just step back and surrender to whatever was going on for him, and realize that he had to start to see himself in a different light. And by me constantly making everything about addiction or feeling like it was to blame, I was shaming him more. And I
Yeah.
have this really strong memory of, I can't remember the date, the year, or the month, anything, but I remember it like I could see it right clearly now, of saying to him, if you don't stop gambling, I'm going to take the kids, you're not going to see us, you're ruining your life, you don't care about, all those things that desperately trying to get him to
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
But seeing him standing there with his head down, and I didn't see, my 43-year-old husband, I saw a 10-year-old boy instead, and I could see the way that he was responding to what I was saying, and it was a state of shame and withdrawal. Going back, here I am, a 10-year-old boy, and being told once again that I'm broken, that there's something wrong with me, that I'm not good enough. And it was really, for me, a shift where I went, this is not helping anybody. I feel awful because I don't want to behave like that. I don't want to be the person that makes someone feel shame.
Yeah.
And for him, it's shutting him down. And then what does he do? He gambles again to try to escape that feeling.
Because he
So
doesn't
when
know,
I
he
got to,
doesn't have other tools yet of like how to
no,
process. Yeah.
no. And that's where, like learning to meet myself and understand me, but using the beautiful modalities like root cause therapy, like embodied processing, where I've been able to understand. I don't call it healing myself. I'll call it like having this deeper connection and understanding of myself.
Mm.
So then I can go, well, why am I doing this? Because I'm scared. I'm scared about what could happen. I miss him. Like I remember saying to him, I just miss you so much. About to feel
Mm.
like crying, but I just really miss you. I miss what we had, and the connection, and you being present, and my reliable partner, and the
Mm.
kids adore you. They still adore you, but they miss you. Like
Yeah.
I could never have said that from that fear state where I had all these abandonment wounds and I'm not good enough. And of course he's going to gamble because he's going to end up leaving, because everyone leaves you. All of those fears for me were coming through. And it
Yeah.
wasn't until I could learn how to sit with myself that I could actually start to sit with his pain in a
That's what
safe
I
way
was
for
going to
him.
ask. Like, and for the listeners, how did that start to help him when you were working on yourself? In what way, if you can explain, did that start to help him to recover and overcome
Yeah.
his behaviors or how he was feeling?
Well, those sort of behaviours of me, say, even because I would always question him, like he would go to Bunnings and I wouldn't believe it. So I would be,
Yeah.
where did you really go? Did you go and gamble? That all of that started to step backwards, and I would go, like I could see, okay, he's told me he's gone to Bunnings. What's going on? And I could feel the activation in my body of starting to go, oh, feeling sick. What's he really doing? Is he lying? Has he gone to gamble? But having the tools that I've learned through both of the modalities, it was like I could calm myself and
Mm.
go, okay, all I know is he's gone out. I don't know anything else. How do I want to respond to this? And I could actually take a breath, give myself time to regulate, and actually have a conversation with him about it. And that didn't go, did you really go to Bunnings? It would be come home and I'd be like, sometimes when you go out, I feel really dysregulated or I get a bit upset because I'm worried about what you're actually doing. And say to him, this is what's going on. So if you do come home and I'm a bit off, it's not because you've done the wrong thing. It's because I'm learning how to trust.
Mm.
So having conversations where he didn't feel like I was constantly thinking the worst of him,
Mm-hmm.
and me being calm enough and not having those abandonment wounds anymore, or I'm not good enough anymore, I could actually stop, breathe, and communicate what I really wanted to say, which was that I'm scared. I'm worried that you're going to lie to me or hurt me again or where this is going to go. And I don't want to lose you. I
Mm.
don't want you to have to live with such pain anymore, because anyone in addiction is in immense pain.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. It's their solution to the pain that they don't know how to process or feel or digest. How did he, it's up to you how much you want to share, but how did he respond when you started responding like that? What kind of changes did you start to see, or how did he respond?
it took him a while to get used to it
Yeah, he's like,
because I
huh?
think I think yeah, he's almost like, hang on a minute, this is different.
Yeah.
And so, and he's not a great talker. He's still not a fabulous talker. He's grown up in a family where you don't communicate, you sweep things under the rug, you just get on with it, pretend you're okay, and don't let anyone from the outside know what's going on because they will judge.
Yeah.
Which is amazing when I think now that he is so open to me sharing whatever I share. Like, my social media is full of stories and feedback. Like, obviously, I always check with him, and he's like, just go for it. I don't mind. Like,
Oh,
for him to have got to that
that means
space.
that he's released a lot of shame. That's incredible. Just by you
Yeah,
opening that conversation, talking about feelings, would you say that's what it was? And gradually he started to feel less shame. And for those that are listening that don't know, kind of what we teach, or what I teach anyway, is shame and guilt can be the biggest drivers for addiction, and because they're quite heavy, intense emotions. And so what Nicole is saying, it's not her fault that he was using, but her behavior was triggering the emotions that he felt, the shame and the guilt. And so her changing that and communicating your emotions, would you say, allowed him to stop feeling ashamed, but also for him to open up a little bit, would you say, and be able to start processing himself? Or to what degree has he done any healing, or has it mainly been you healing yourself and inspiring him and holding a safe space for him?
I think initially it was me doing the going deeper, doing root cause therapy and having sessions done. And there was obviously a shift in me from the way that I was showing up and communicating and using different language. That was probably the catalyst for him. And then he was like, well, what can I do? He'd done seen a few different counsellors, had different therapy, and had got to a point, which I was a bit the same, where talk therapy gets us to a point, and then I knew I needed more.
Yeah.
And he was a bit the same because he couldn't remember so much of these things, and we didn't know where it was coming from. And I'll share a story because I know he won't mind, but
Mm-hmm.
I always had this thing about, why gambling addiction? Why did, because for me it was food, and I had uncovered why. When my dad died, everyone brought food and I felt comfort.
Oh,
But
yeah.
for him, I was always, well, what's the connection here? And we worked out, through root cause therapy sessions, that him feeling connection, the only time he really felt connection was with his dad, was when they were at the horse racing together. Jared
Wow.
used to do, yeah, he used to work at the trots to earn money as a teen, and that
Oh
was
my gosh, I
their
have
thing that they did.
goosebumps. Wow.
Yeah. So it was almost like like, same thing. He could understand more of, go, when I gamble, I'm trying to create this feeling of feeling seen and heard and valued and connected to. It's not so much about the actual bet. And then, we started to look at, well, what was going on for you when you did want to gamble? Because for so long he was just like, I don't know. He just had no
Yeah.
answers. I
And
go,
most
why,
people
what
don't,
do
to
you,
be honest. Most people don't. They're not
yeah.
consciously aware of it. Yeah.
yeah, all he could say is, all I know is I'll just be walking out of the TAB, or I've, used my phone, and it's done. Like, and I don't consciously remember. So, and then, we started to look more at that, and it was like, it would be when he got overwhelmed. He started to understand how he was feeling, and he would be really overwhelmed. And there would not necessarily be a trigger. It would just be a feeling, and he couldn't be with it. He had to escape it.
Yeah.
Um,
And I can probably, and I'm
yes,
just like assuming when he got overwhelmed, he, didn't have that father figure next door or to pick up the phone and have a chat about, being a dad or whatever's work or whatever's overwhelming him.
yeah, and he didn't know that that's what was happening. I think that's for a lot of it, isn't it? We're living just in here, and the body is this beautiful source of resource for us, and it's giving us feedback, but we're not aware of it until we learn to be aware of it.
Yeah.
So we don't know that that's what we're trying to escape, just the thoughts come in. And, that I've heard a lot, and, spoken to a lot of people who are living with addiction, that it's almost like I can't be there, and I go back to the thing that soothes me, whether it's causing me more pain now or not, whether that's drugs, alcohol, gambling. It doesn't matter. All I need is that release and that support right there, and that's what gives it to me.
Yeah.
So for him, I think now it's been, we don't actually even know. It will be minimum 6 years since he's gambled.
Wow.
Um, and, like I remember having a conversation with him too, going, how do you see yourself, when in relation to gambling, probably only about 2 years ago. And he said, oh, I'm a gambling addict. And I went, well, why are you if you're not gambling?
Mm.
And, it's this whole, because that's what society tells me.
The
I,
12 and the
I had
12-step program, you're always an addict. I'm not for that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm the same. Like, I don't even like to use the word addict. I say
Yeah.
you were living with gambling addiction, or you
Yeah.
experienced gambling addiction. And I explained all of that to him, that it was something you did. It's not who you are.
Yes.
We
It's
don't
not your
say, oh,
identity. It's like
no,
something that you
I'm,
did. Yeah.
yeah, and we seem to do it with addiction. Like, and I think about so many other things. Like, we don't call someone cancer. We say they're living with
Oh
cancer.
no.
So, yeah, and like I said to him, well, you're not, and you haven't. So how are you
Yeah.
calling yourself that? And I literally could see like his whole body just relax. And he was like, oh
Wow.
yeah, like he'd never thought of it.
Wow.
Um, and I said to him, I feel like I've told you this before, but maybe you weren't ready to receive it. But now
Mm.
it's just like it's something that I went through. It's not who I am. And that in itself is powerful, I think, for us too, as the person who is, loving someone in that position. That yes, my behaviour at times wasn't helpful. I did things that weren't, great, that didn't even feel like me as well. But it's something that I lived through, and I did my best to survive it. Um,
Mm.
and being that compassionate place for yourself, so then that can ripple out. I think that is really
Oh,
beneficial.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like definitely you have really shown that look, it's not your fault that he was an addict, but it's a chance for us to grow and learn and see what comes up for us. And um, and I think sometimes the other person won't get on board. What would you say to those people where they're like, I've been doing healing work for years, I've tried to help them, they're not open to it? Like, do you have any advice for those people that are maybe listening and going, obviously they can connect with you. We'll have your details in the show notes to get that one-on-one support and coaching and mentoring. But yeah, do you have any like words of advice around that at all?
Yeah, I recently released a 5-week program, Life Beyond Addiction, where I am supporting people, and all of the people that I've supported, their loved one is still in active addiction.
Okay.
But my last lady, who I absolutely love, and you finish and you go, oh, I'm going to miss you. But her partner has been told that he will literally die, in the next few years if he doesn't stop drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And in her last session, for her to say to me, no matter what happens, I know I'm going to be okay, by the tools that I
Wow.
now have. and the relationship I have with myself and the way I'm supporting him and my children, they're still together. She knows she'll be okay. And this is the place I think we really want to get ourselves to, because whether your loved one is in your life or not, whether they're a partner, you know, whether they're your child, your parents, sibling, friend, no matter what your relationship is, being able to surrender and let them choose is the greatest gift you can give yourself and them, because we can't make them. And I think that's the cause of a lot of the pain. And I know it was for me, is trying to convince him,
Mm.
because it just reaffirms that I'm not being seen, heard, or valued. And then that creates this disconnection and resentment.
Mm.
And that's the total opposite of what we're trying to achieve.
Mm.
And I think too, you know, like even if your loved one continues down that path, the relationship you have with them will probably feel a lot more, I guess, aligned to the one that you dreamed you would always have, or the one that maybe you had before addiction come along. Um, because you start to see them as them again instead of just seeing them as addiction. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, I think too, like realizing when we're getting support for us, we're getting support for us. We're not coming in to fix our person, because that's what's
Yeah.
created half the rubbish already.
That might be the
We're getting,
initial driver like yours, but then you quickly
yeah,
come to learn it's your path too. And I think what comes to mind when you're talking about this is like not giving all your power away to that person and bringing it back to you might be another way to like describe it for some people listening. It's like don't place all of your happiness and all of your well-being and your self-love and your self-care depending on like what their behaviors are, because often like you said they don't even know why they're doing it, and there's no amount of guilting them, shaming them is going to stop it. It might perpetuate it. So you might as well make it a journey about self-healing and working through what comes up in you growing as a person. If anything, if you're going to get anything out of it, so to speak.
yeah. And I think too, like when we go on this journey of getting to know us, it gives us this sense of empowerment to make decisions that actually we're not questioning. Because for a long time I was pretty much, you know, screwing my own mind, going, should I stay, should I leave? And
Yeah.
that was keeping this shame cycle going. And then, oh, here we go again. Why am I with him? He's, you know, he's treating us badly. And then it would be, oh no, things are all right this week. And I felt like I was actually really screwing myself up. And it was even surrendering to that, to going, right now we don't have to make any big decisions. Let's just work on getting to know ourselves.
Wow.
And
That's
that, even that
powerful.
gave me that sense of freedom, yeah, of going, I
Yeah.
don't have to choose whether to stay or leave. I don't have
Yeah.
to decide how I'm going to support him today. As I get to know me, it was nearly like it all just started to lay itself out as I started to get to know myself more and more. And, you know, meet those parts of me that weren't helping me live the life I wanted to live and feel the way I wanted to really feel, to show up
Mm.
for myself and, you know, and for my kids too.
Yeah.
And that the beautiful thing about that is, you know, my kids are now 27 down to 20, and that is full of a lot of challenges. But the way that I can parent now, I would never have been able to do without going through this journey. All
Mm.
the tools that I've learned and the way that I've grown through what we've been through with addiction has made me, you know, this mum that has got such a beautiful connection with all of my kids, that
Yeah.
they come to me, you know, like, and go, oh, can you do a somatic session on me, because I've got
Oh
this
my
thing
God.
going
I
on.
think every parent dreams of having like your kids coming to you and asking you for that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And I don't push it on them. They know what I do, and but they know that I'm a safe space because they've witnessed it. You
Yeah.
know, and they'll sometimes go, geez, Mum, I remember when you used to yell all the time. And I go, yeah, so do I. That was crazy
You're like,
town,
I'm
wasn't it?
undoing it now.
Lucky we're
Like I've
not
got
there anymore. Yeah. But I could
never
never have
too
done that.
late,
I
guys.
couldn't,
It's never too late.
absolutely not. And, you know, like when I first started learning about trauma, I was like, oh my God, I've screwed my kids up. I did control crying and I did this and I did that. And it's not what we should do. But it hasn't, you know, when I have worked on me, it's helped to heal so much for all of us. And that wasn't even ever the agenda. Obviously, like I said at, the start of our chat, the agenda was always to fix him.
It's
But look
always
at all the
with, and I
beautiful
think in
gifts.
general, like we try to change our lives by trying to control everyone and everything around us. And then, yeah, you kind of get to the point where you're like, hang on, is there something that I can do within? And when you start shifting within, your external reality really starts to reflect all that internal work. And you go, oh, this is much easier than trying to control everyone else. I mean, it's not an easy journey, but in terms of like, no one likes being controlled and told what to do, at the end of the day. So,
No, no, and that creates more disconnection. Like when the kids were teens, even my son's 20. If I come from a point of going, you need to do this, instant disconnection.
oh, yeah,
And whereas if I'm like, how are you going? Do you need support? What's
yeah,
going on?
yeah,
Do you need me to do anything? You know where I am. Totally different space.
amazing.
Um, and having that to let go, and if something goes wrong, if they lose their job, they lose their license, or
Yeah.
have a breakup with their partner or whatever, they're
This is
going to
all
be
the early
okay.
20s things. Yep.
Yeah, it's full on. But even that stage of letting my kids move out, and that has been a transition. My eldest moved out not long ago, and she's 27. She's social working and stuff, and it was like I didn't think I would cope with it, but I'm so happy for her, and I'm so proud of her, and our relationship has changed, but it's still really connected and beautiful because I haven't been fighting against what was actually happening. You're able to move
Yeah.
through these different things that can cause distress and disconnection in a completely different way.
Yep.
Yeah, and like she said, oh, I'm going to move out, and I'm going, if that's what you want to do, we're here. How can we help? We love your
Amazing.
partner and we're happy for you, and yeah, like let's get you on to this next chapter. How exciting.
And I
Um,
think as a mother, and like I've only got a 6-year-old, so I'm not at the empty nesting stage. I'm sure I'll contact you when I get there. Um, it's like it's really beautiful to hear that since you've been doing the healing work, and I don't know what you were like before, but you haven't created your whole identity on your kids' life and their results and like trying to live through them. So you could easily let them go because you've got another purpose. Like you're doing work that you love, and you're showing them that as well. And I can see Den has been inspired by that as well and doing similar kind of work, which is amazing. But also that you have that connection with them now where they don't have to be in the house, but you still feel that connection and the doors are still open and the communication still open. So you don't feel like it's a disaster for your relationship that they've moved out or anything like that.
yeah, no, there probably was a lot like an element of needing things to be a certain way because like I lost my father when I was 4, and I had a lot of abandonment wounds from that, which, done a lot of work. Root cause therapy in particular was amazing for that, bringing in that love and knowing it wasn't my fault. And it
Yeah.
always still comes up. I think because I was 4, it's a real developmental thing. But I'm at a stage now where I don't need to have everyone else's validation to know that I'm okay. They're not leaving me. Like my daughter moving out, she's not leaving me.
Mm,
She's spreading her wings and living the life she deserves to live. So whereas before I probably would have taken it personally and been heartbroken and
yep.
still let her go because we have to, but maybe made it harder than what it needed to be.
Yep.
Whereas now it's like, wow, look at her go, feeling so proud of her
Mm,
and knowing that our connection is not changing just because she lives, an hour away from me now instead of in the same house. We
mm,
still communicate and we do beautiful things together and have a really deep, open relationship like we always have. None of that's changed.
yep.
Um, yeah, and what a privilege to watch your kids flourish and find a beautiful person to spend their life with in their own purpose.
It's amazing. And I
Um,
think, she probably, even though your relationship with your husband wasn't great and it was rocky for a while, but then because you've done a lot of work and then created a healthy relationship, even though she's older, like, like mid-20s, she got a new imprint of a healthy relationship, of a communicative relationship, of healthy conflict, so you broke that cycle even though it was much later. That's what I'm kind of getting from what you're saying, in terms of her being healthy and being in a good relationship and everything.
Yeah. I think too, like I've showed them that it doesn't matter what the situation is, we always have our own role to play
Mm,
because it's very easy, in something really big. And, it's a long trauma loving someone who is living with addiction. It's very easy to blame everything on that person and on addiction. But I
mm,
have my own role to play, and it's not about shaming anybody, and
yeah.
not about shaming myself, but it's about going, well, is this how I want to be, and why? Why was I
Mm,
like this? Getting curious about it,
yeah.
and and that's what I say to the kids. Like you might be having, say, a conflict with your partner or your boss at work or something. Well, what's the whole picture? Let's look
Mm,
at the whole picture. Is there things that you're doing that are maybe contributing? How
yeah,
do you
love that.
feel, when this happens? And just that self-awareness, because I think that when we do that, we do it from a place of getting to know more about it.
Yeah.
And that to me has been something that has really benefited them with their relationship with me, with their dad. Even him, I'll go, oh, so you've just had an argument with one of the kids. What was it about? Oh, what did you actually want to say to them? Because maybe the way you said it made
Hmm.
them feel like, they were being judged or told off.
Yeah.
So, we're all working on it. And he's just like, oh, yeah, actually, it probably, and reflecting, oh, that's how I got spoken to and I never liked it. Okay, so how can
Oh,
you do it
wow.
differently?
I love that.
Yes. So it's just, I think that, like, as you would know yourself, part of this healing thing is just being really aware what I am in control of and how I want to feel myself, but how I want others
Yeah.
to feel in my space too. Um, and creating that and that in itself is healing.
That's,
To have
yeah.
to have yeah, to hold space and people know I can say and tell you whatever I want and the judgment's not going to be there. You're just going to listen and be open and caring. What a
Yeah.
gift to give, especially to your
Oh,
kids and your partner, but
yeah.
especially your kids, no matter what their age.
Oh, absolutely. That's beautiful. And I did want to mention, so you do a podcast with your daughter. Could you share what that podcast is called, just in case if people want to have a listen to you guys?
Yeah, so it's Addiction and Mental Wellbeing Unlimited is our podcast. She's been a big mental health advocate and is now a qualified social worker working with youth. But we just felt like when we went through everything with, my husband, her dad, with addiction, the support for us was so hard to get,
Mm,
and actually really not helpful because
okay.
no one everyone's focused on the person with the addiction. How do we support them? And we're like, felt like you're nearly, on the sidelines watching,
Yeah.
and you just have to get on with it and put yourself last, make sure they're okay. um and I know for her, she had a lot of anger towards him, um, and had nowhere to put it because she's
Mm,
like, I can't say it to him. He's really low. He nearly took his life. He spent,
mm,
I think it was 2 months in a psych ward. Um, so she felt like she couldn't direct it
hmm.
anywhere, and that was really hard as a 16-year-old. And one of the things that she did is the day after, like this, he attempted to end his life, she went back to school and didn't tell anybody,
Mm,
didn't tell a soul, and just went back to school, because that was my safe space. And we actually do an episode on that, but talking about trying to be normal as a teen and trying to fit
mm,
in. So we thought us sharing our stories is a really powerful thing to do because there's still not a lot of support for us
yeah.
on the outside. And statistics show that when you have the whole like family involved in getting support and understanding addiction and trauma, that the likelihood of your person going into recovery and living a full, happy life is, the chances of that happening are so much greater.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's where we're at with that. And obviously we're bringing in different people that we're talking to, sharing our experiences, talking about different things that have supported us. And our plans for the future are to continue with it, but then maybe to start running a few workshops and stuff as well. Because it's still so needed. It's
Oh,
still so needed.
absolutely. And yeah, that's so inspiring and so I think inspiring for people that are listening that maybe are in the trenches of it or on the other side of it. Maybe they've lost hope of like recouping anything. And yeah, it's just, that message is still coming through. It's never too late. And yeah, I love it. And if people want to find out about more about your program, could you share your Instagram? I will have it in the show notes, but if you could share it in case they want to look it up to
Yeah,
connect
so
with
it's
you.
Myndful Healing, but mindful is Myndful,
Yep.
like my. So it's my
Oh, I
healing.
love that. Yes.
Yeah,
My
yeah. So
healing. Yeah.
obviously, Instagram and Facebook, but Instagram's probably my platform that I do use more. Um, and you can always jump on my website as well if you want to read more about me. I've got a bit of a blog happening there. And then I think in my Instagram there's a link to the podcast as well. So
Awesome.
yeah, you can find all about it all there.
Yep.
And definitely reach out. I find, unfortunately, for a lot of people who do have addiction impacting them, that finances can be a problem. But I don't want that to be a reason you don't reach out, because there's different things that we can do that can support you. So please don't struggle alone. Don't let that be the thing, and don't let shame either, because you've heard my story. I've walked the walk.
Mm.
There's no judgment here at all. And I know addiction has a stigma, but not when you come into my world.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. And yeah, please reach out to Nicole if you want to have a chat, if it's something that you're going through and you want some guidance. I couldn't imagine anyone better to hold such a safe space and actually, like you said, have lived it. You're on the other side of it. So thank you so much. And thank you so much for our chat today. I absolutely loved it and getting to know you more and the whole story. And yeah, just speaking so highly of our courses. Every time you say that, I'm trying to receive it, and I'm like, oh, thank you so much. And I'm so glad that you're with us and in our community. You're just such an important part of our community, and I just feel so grateful that you're with us. So thank you again. And that's the end of the podcast for today. There's further links in the show notes if you'd like to have a look at our short courses, like what you started with, one of our little short, inexpensive courses. We have a couple of free ones too, if you want to get to know us and start your healing journey as well. And thank you so much.